Thank you, Noah. I think I threw him off because I got his songs all out of order, so he went with it and did a great job. This is my element. I started thinking about it, and I used to preach just almost really once a year, and that was here. And this is it. I get to preach a lot more now. I love it. I've been blessed to have a lot of opportunities. But to stand up here on a Thursday night at the end of camp week and just think about that. Every year I get memories pop up on your Facebook memory thing, and this past week I had memory of washing George's feet one year. And I look around and guys that I went to camp with, Chad, and growing up with so many of you here, so many people that raise their hand. And I just think, yeah, it can be Thursday night, and it can just be another night and the last night of camp. But oh, how easily we take that for granted. What a special place and a special time. And it's always that Thursday night, if you notice, man, the singing is just right. You just want to keep singing that Thursday night. Everybody gets in their groove, don't they? It's been a great week of camp. We get spiritually on fire. And we build up to that Thursday night, and then it's so easy to go back home, isn't it? And just get back in that groove, right? Get back in that groove of scrolling on whatever, TikTok, playing some Fortnite, right? Not calling anybody out. It's easy to get back in that groove, isn't it? And get out of this one. Don't take it for granted. What's our theme this week? How about this? The fruit of the Spirit's not a... Who said it?
Pickle!
Pickle! The fruit of the Spirit's not a pickle. If you want to be a pickle, you might as well hear it. You can't be a fruit of the Spirit. The fruit is love, joy, peace, faith, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. What else do you think of when you think of fruits of the Spirit? When somebody says fruit of the Spirit, what happens? If I said, that's right, if I say name the fruits of the Spirit, you almost can't do it without singing the song, can you? It just rolls off your tongue. And so many times, because when we think about the fruits of the Spirit, we think about it a lot like we do so many other Bible stories that we kind of just throw into this category, kind of like Noah's Ark, right? And we just think of it as what? It's just a kid song. It's a song that we sang in school, and so we throw it in that category, right? Just like Noah's Ark. And you look out here, and the world that we live in is shaped by the flood. Everything that we see, everything that we understand, the physical world we live in was all from that moment in time. But we don't look at that. We look at it as just a story in Sunday school. And it's a lot the same way of the fruits of the Spirit, right? So what do you think of, right, when you think about desserts? What do you guys think of, right? Anybody a cheesecake fan? Right? Love some good cheesecake. Go to the Cheesecake Factory and they've got like 100 different kinds. You can get all different kinds of cheesecake. You can't go wrong with the original, right? Love some cheesecake. Maybe it's something else for somebody else, right? Maybe it's chocolate cake, or what about this? I know this is near and dear to some people, right? Who doesn't love a good homemade cinnamon roll? Doesn't that look awesome? Here's what's funny, okay? When I went to Google search this picture, does that not look amazing? This is a gluten-free, I know, it ruined it, but it was the best picture on there. I had to put it on there. Your mouth just waters when you think about desserts, right? And we think about desserts, and when we think about desserts, we think about this kind of stuff. You know, and it's easy for us to think about that, or it's easy, maybe Little Debbie's cakes, right? Somebody loves what? Zebra cakes, oatmeal cream pies. Hey, Little Debbie honey buns. There's all kinds of different ones that we think about like that when we think about dessert. But here's what we take for granted, okay? Have you ever thought about fruits as dessert? Maybe, right? But that's not going to be your go-to for dessert, is it? We don't think about fruits as dessert. But in the Bible days, you know what they did? Fruits were their dessert. Fruits were the sweetest things they had. See, they didn't have processed sugar in the Bible days. So their desserts were fruits. Have you ever thought about the fruits of the Spirit as a dessert? I mean, what do you think Paul was trying to say there when he described the fruits of the Spirit? He was trying to say the sweetest thing that there is. He was describing it that way. The Bible talks about fruits in all kinds of different ways. And it's all throughout the Bible. I mean, even in Genesis 1, it says, when God created the world, He said, "Behold, I have given you every seed in its fruit, and you shall have them for food." The Scriptures affirm the goodness of fruit-bearing trees. They're saying they're pleasant to the sight and good for food in Genesis 2. And God made fruit the main dessert of the Bible times. Right? Even in the New Testament, verse after verse, there's all kinds of mentions of fruit. It's 66 times that the Bible mentions the word fruit just in the New Testament. In Matthew 3:8 it says, "Therefore bear fruit in keeping with repentance." Therefore bear fruits. In Luke 8 it says, "Therefore bear fruits in keeping with repentance, and do not begin to say to yourselves, 'We have Abraham our father,' or I say to you, the least from these stones God is able to raise up children from Abraham. Indeed, the axe is already laid at the foot of the trees, so every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire." Jordan talked a bit about that kind of stuff. Again, in Matthew 7 and in Matthew 12. Matthew 12 says, "Either make the tree good and its fruit good, or make the tree bad and its fruit bad, for the tree is known by its fruit." Over and over, the Bible talks about fruits of the Bible. We don't really think about it that way, do we? Have you ever thought about just that the Bible mentions fruits that much? It was important because He was trying to reference what was important to them in the day. Because you see, when they mentioned fruits back then, just like when we saw the pictures of maybe the cheesecake or the chocolate cake or cinnamon roll or whatever, and our mouths kind of started watering, and we thought, that sounds good, that looks good. That's what Paul was doing in the Bible. That's what Jesus was doing in the Bible. When He mentioned these things, people thought, man, that sounds good. We don't think about the fruits of the Spirit a lot of times as saying something to say, that sounds good. Let me ask you, when you think about that and what things that you desire, what do you desire the most? Really ask yourself today, what do you desire the most? I mean, you think about it and you think about things that we desire, and would our answer a lot of times maybe be different than what our actions would show? Again, I'm not picking on stuff that we do, but do we sometimes desire that need for social media more than we desire our need for God? I mean, because where's our time spent? Is our time spent more for God or for social media? I'm not saying it's bad. Video games. Is our time spent more playing video games, watching TV, watching YouTube, whatever your thing is? What's your desire? What do you desire? You see, that's why Paul described it as a fruit of the Spirit, because he wanted it to be something that people desired the most. What should we desire the most? It's easy. Jesus. I mean, do we truly desire? Do we want? Do we seek out Jesus? In those times where we're just bored or anything, don't have nothing to do, When we desire something, we go to those things, right? When we're sitting somewhere, when we're just sitting at home and we don't have time, the things that we desire are the things that we're going to go and do. When we desire Jesus and we want to spend time and be more like Jesus, we're going to go to Him. So we have to have that desire for Jesus. All right? We should desire Jesus the most. Here's the first connection I want you to make tonight. The fruits of the Spirit define the character of Jesus. If you ask, what is Jesus' character like? If you just listed the fruits of the Spirit, that's Jesus' character. Those are the things that He was known by. Every one of those things is listed. You see, so when we desire Jesus and we want to be more like Jesus, then we want to have those fruits of the Spirit. If we desire to be more like Jesus, the fruits of the Spirit is what's going to get us there. Let me say that again. If we desire Jesus, the fruits of the Spirit is what's going to get us there. You see, we're known by our character. That's all we're known by. That's what Jesus was known by. A man of good character. That's what we're known by as our character. That's all we got. That's all we can take with us, is who we are. Those characteristics of who we are. So let me ask you, what are you known by? If that describes you and that's your character, what are you known by? When somebody says your name, whether you're there, you're not there, or whatever, they're going to think of you with your characteristics. So what are your characteristics? What are you known by? Are you getting the connection yet? You see, the fruits of the Spirit define Jesus' character, and the fruits of the Spirit should define our character. There's the connection. We should desire Jesus the most. If we desire to be more like Jesus, the fruits of the Spirit is what's going to get us there. And the fruits of the Spirit that define Jesus' character are the fruits of the Spirit that should define our character. We are known by our character. But let me ask you, if you're known by your character, if that's what you are, that's what people say about you, are you known by love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness? Hard not to sing, right? Are you known by those things? You see, if you're known by those things, that's going to define, that's the character that we should have. I want you to notice one other thing. We talked about this a little bit in our class. The second thing for you to notice tonight is that, have you ever looked at the order of the fruits of the Spirit and noticed that they're kind of that way on purpose? You see, if you start with the first one, if you start with love, you can't get to joy. You cannot have joy without having love. You cannot have peace in your life without having joy in your life. You cannot have patience until you have peace in your life. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. It's kind of, how many kind people have you known that are not patient people? You getting the connection? Goodness. If you're kind, you're going to be good. Faithfulness. If you're good, then you're faithful. And so on and so on. They're written that way in order. And so here's what I challenge our class to do. You know, there's all of them that we're good at. Okay, some of us are good at being patient. Some of us are good at being peaceful, joyous. Others of us, we struggle with things. You know, I struggle with patience, I'll tell you. I struggle with patience. And a lot of times I try to focus on patience. Okay? But if I go back to the one before it and work on it, it's going to help me with patience. If I work on peace and having peace within myself, then I'm going to get to patience. But a lot of times I just try to work on that patience. Joy. Sometimes we're just, you know, people that are kind of downers and just can't find joy in life. It starts with love. Start loving things. Start loving people. And you'll find joy in your life. Whichever one that you struggle with, whichever ones you struggle with, go back to the one before it. There's a reason that Paul wrote them in order like that. That's our character. We want to work on our character. Work on those fruits. Not just the one fruit you struggle with, but go back to the one before it, and it'll help you with the one after it. So character. We talk about character. We talk about God. Again, I said the fruits of the Spirit define Jesus' character, and the fruits of the Spirit should define our character. A lot of us pass by this picture every single day. And most of you here probably never knew him. This is Brother Jerry Jenkins. It's a bad picture. Sorry, I had to take it with my phone. A lot of glare. It's a picture that's sitting in Isaac's Inn when you walk in around the corner. And when I think about men of character, I think about Jerry Jenkins. And this week is called Jerry Jenkins Week in honor of him. It was his week for many, many years. He did so much for this camp. And I wish I had time to tell you more and more about him, because I could just go on and on about stories. And I know a lot of you have heard them. But he was such a good man. And when I think about people that really define fruits of the Spirit, and people that define those, that character, he was one of those. He had those. Every one of them. You just saw him in his life. And he would work on those and try to get better at them. But I want one other incredible characteristic about Brother Jerry that I talk about all the time, besides those characteristics of just the fruits of the Spirit, was the characteristic that Brother Jerry, probably more than anybody else I've ever known, saw souls in people. He didn't see people for anything else. He didn't see people for what job they had, where they came from, the color of their skin, anything. It didn't matter where you went. When I would work at the church and go eat with him at Wendy's, you could see just his interaction with the person behind the counter. He wasn't just talking to somebody that was working there, giving them their money and waiting for the food. You could see that he saw a soul in that person just across the counter, no matter where he was. Something I always was in awe of him for. He saw souls in people. But here's what I want you to notice. Those two characteristics that he had, or those two things that defined his character, go together. You see, when we have the fruits of the Spirit in our lives, and we work on all those fruits of the Spirit, and we get better and better at those fruits of the Spirit, the more and more that we're going to see souls in other people. You see, that's what God wants us to do. That's what God sees in us. It's easy to see the way the fruits of the Spirit in us. A lot of times we can look at each one of those individually, but to see all of them, that's what God desires, to see souls in other people. You want to know an easy way for the world to see fruits of the Spirit in you? To see, when I say that, to see God in you, it starts with the little things. Okay? Bear with me just a second, because I think we need this stuff today here at camp, in this world. The little things, because I don't hear it enough at camp, and it's so simple. And my kids probably get sick of it, but it's the little things like this right here. Okay? This is for everybody. You guys, you want to be successful in life? You want to do good? Say yes, sir. Say no, sir. Say yes, ma'am. Say no, ma'am. Say sir, ma'am. Say please. Say thank you. Those little things show our character. They show us how respectful we are towards other people. The respect that we have by the little things that we say, instead of just, yeah, huh, okay. Brother Jerry did it at 70-something years old to everybody he came across. Something I work on all the time. Little things like that go a long way in showing people the fruits of the Spirit in our lives and showing people our character. Little things like that. You see, when we do things like that, the world sees the fruits of the Spirit. And the world needs to see the fruits of the Spirit. The world that we live in today needs the fruits of the Spirit. I ask you tonight, has the world seen the fruits of the Spirit in your life? We've talked about them all week. It's not just a song that we sing. It's something that God desires in every one of us. And we all struggle. We all fail in a lot of those ways. I, myself included, need help in that. That's what this week's for. It's to grow closer to God. to grow in our character with God. And for a lot of us, it's a reality check. It's a reality check to say, man, I needed Maywood this week. I'm so glad that I came. I've been here all week, and I've been thinking about my life this week. And through all the stuff that I've heard, through all the e-hours, through all the Bible classes, and everything that I've heard this week, it's really touched my heart. But I just hadn't had the courage because I didn't want to be the only one that came forward. I didn't want to be the only one that stood out all week. The invitation's been there, but I didn't want to be the first one. God is touching my heart and pricking my heart, but I was scared. And now here it is, Thursday night, the last night. And God is saying, it's the last night. All week, I've been with you. I've been telling you all week. I've been trying to nudge you. Take advantage tonight. I've been thinking about being baptized. I just don't know. I've thought about it all week, but I'm scared. I didn't want to be the only one that came forward. And God's saying, there's no better time than now. There's no better place than here. You see, when I said I was in my element, this is my element. I feel like probably here more than anywhere else, I grow closer to God. And I was baptized here, right down there in that pool. And maybe that has a lot to do with it, but this place is special to me. And every one of you are special to me. I don't know all of you that well, but I love to see you guys here. Because I think here you get away from that junk of the world. And I see some of you come here and you just got this burden on your back, and you just, maybe you struggle to fit in at school and at home and whatever, and you come here, and at first it's just that load gets lighter and lighter through the week. And you're here now, surrounded by people that love you. And to see that in God's family, it doesn't matter where you come from, the color of your skin, the house you live in, any of that. That as we sit here tonight at Maywood Christian Camp, that God sees all of us as souls equally, that He wants to go to heaven with Him. Don't waste an opportunity. Because you see, we talked about this in class, but it only takes that first one, and then so many sometimes follow. You may be the first one that's the example for so many that's just been waiting and hanging on and saying, I was just so scared, and I'm so thankful that you went because my heart's been pricked all week and I was ready to go. Tonight is the night. Do not wait another moment. Will you come now as we stand and as we sing?